Well, good evening, everybody. This is Apostle Crystal Lee. I'm excited to be here with you once again. We are in the fifth day of Feast of Unleavened Bread, the sixth day of this appointed time. We started with the sacrifice Pesach, and now we're in this Feast of Unleavened Bread, and it's been an amazing, amazing journey. This is Yah's appointment. It's nobody's appointment. It doesn't belong to us. It doesn't belong to any other culture. Okay, so when you hear people talking about this is their festivals, they're lying. The word of Yah says that these are his feasts. These are his appointed times. You know what that means? That he's the one that set everything up for us to be at the appointment, for him to have the conversation. So that means he has to start the conversation, y'all. We can't just come with whatever we want. He has to begin the conversation and he has to end the conversation because it is his special time. So thank you so much for being here with me. Let me know that you're in the room. I'm waiting on my brother to come in as well. Let me know that you're in the room if you are here. We're going to have some table talk tonight, some Q&A. There are a lot of little areas that I didn't get to share with you guys over the last couple of days, and maybe I'll get some of that out tonight. Maybe I won't. We'll see what happens. But my brother is going to come on tonight, and he's going to share. We're going to have some dialogue about first fruits. That's the very last day of this moed, and it is a convocation. Okay, so just like on the first day, you do no regular work on convocations. Okay, the rest of the week you could work, but on the first day and the last day, the first day and the eighth day, you do no regular work. It's a convocation, and it is holy. It's treated like the Sabbaths. It's treated just like the Sabbaths, just like the Sabbaths. Hey, elder, I see you in the room. Blessings to you. Come on in. It's treated just like the Sabbath. So we're going to have some conversations. I know that there are some questions and maybe some things that have been crossing your mind. I've been sharing all week just the things that the Father's been bringing into my spirit, bringing up in my spirit, sharing those things with you as to give you more clarity on what the Father is saying. I know for a fact that tomorrow we're going to have some conversations about the numbers of things and more conversation about the hour of reckoning. It's definitely going to be a very prophetic time, and we're going to have some intercession. We're going to go in and out of some things, but we're going to do that tomorrow, and then we're going to have that last day, which is first fruits. So again, I'm excited to have you here with me today. If you have not been here all week, welcome. You got to go back and check out some things that were discussed prior to now. I have some new guests that were on last night. Exciting. Some people were asking questions about things, and I'm going to tell you guys something. It's really important that you are not ashamed to share your belief, because I find that a lot of people that don't have the mindset anymore of the industrial complex. I'm not telling you to go out and be braggadocious. I'm not telling you to go out and try to seem different, because you are different. I'm saying when things come up, I was having a conversation with some people that I care for. I really care for these people. And they were talking about this spiritual thing that, they were doing. And I'm not knocking it. Okay, great. Spiritual thing. And I was telling them, yeah, well, we were trying to get some things together. And I said, well, when I am done with this festival time that I'm in, when I'm done celebrating the Moeds, I'm sharing some things with them, then I'll be able, we can come together and we can do some things. We can do some business. We can make some things happen. And they were like, what is that? Now they were telling me about their spiritual thing. I didn't ask a whole lot about that, because I understand that sometimes when people say spiritual thing, that could be a number of things. But sometimes you live and you learn people by just, whatever is going on in their life and how they function and all of that. But I began to share because they inquired of something. And so I know that they came on last night and began to listen to some things, so they're getting a better idea of what I was talking about, because they came on the live. So invite somebody to the live. If you feel like you are not completely capable of telling them, which you should be by this time, what you believe, why you believe, what this is. It doesn't have to be anything dramatic or over the top. You're just letting them know. Everybody else may celebrate these particular holidays, but I actually celebrate the holy days of Yah. These are days that he has set aside. That's what holy means. They're just days that he has set aside. That's one thing for us to make something holy, right? Hallow his name, make holy his name. What does that mean? Set his name apart from everything else. But it's another thing when he makes a thing holy, which he's already holy. So all we're doing is agreeing with his holiness, right? So you got to be willing to be a vessel to be used to expose people. And it doesn't have to be a major conversation, but sometimes just in passing, You might want to just share something. You have to be able to be prompted by the Holy Spirit to know what to say and when to say it. I'll tell you this, as I'm waiting on my brother to come on. I remember the first time I heard the term Yah. I remember the very first time I heard the term Yahweh, and I remember where I was. I don't remember the date, but I know where I was and what was going on that brought this conversation about. Okay. And many years from then, I would be in a space where I was now, it was a seed in me, right? Now, funny thing, because I was an avid student of the scripture for a long time, since I was about 11. I was an avid student of the scripture, okay? Like I'm talking about, my books are laid out on my mother's dining room table, and I'm reading and studying scripture. Of course, by 12, I was teaching Sunday school classes, okay? And 11, 12, in that bracket, I was also teaching choirs and doing a bunch of things. So I had a lot of responsibility in the church, okay? But it was funny to me that in the moment that name was brought to bear, it made me begin to identify with some things. And one of the things I identified with, and this is, brother said this the other day. He said, we read what we're told and not what's written, okay? This is not necessarily the full case here, but what I can say of this is that because I always called him my father, I never thought of a name for him. Okay. I never referred to him as God. I never referred to him as anything but my father. So in that, because of how he introduced himself to me, there was always, no matter where I was brought up in and what they thought about trinities and whatever else was going on, I always had a distinction between the Father and the Son. There was always that distinction, because how the Father introduced himself to me was as my Father. Okay. So here we are. That distinction was made, right? And in that distinction being made, I didn't have the same concepts that a lot of people had around me, right? I didn't have those concepts. But here we are now, and I was identifying with the fact that in all of that study, I never took the time to open up or unpack the word God or Lord. You know what I'm saying? And I was baffled by that, because I thought I knew what those terms meant, right? I thought I knew what those terms meant. And this is why I'm really, really aggressive in this area when it comes to being studied, being well studied, and understanding that people use symbols and words and these different things, these icons and all these different things to trigger you and to keep you in a place of bondage. You have to know for yourself who the Father is, who the Son is, who Holy Spirit is, so that you can know how you're created and who you are. Blessings, Apostle Joanne. Good to have you here tonight. You got to know who you are, right? And the only way that you're going to know who you are is based on those relationships that I just mentioned with the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. There's no other way to truly know yourself. You can't just know yourself just because of your lineage. You don't just know yourself because of your family line. That's your earthly identification. You may be connected to these people, but I'm going to talk about some things tonight as we're dealing with first fruits. As we're dealing with first fruits and talking about that, Apostle brought up something to bear the other day, and he said, what does that look like? What does it mean to be a first fruit? You know, what does this look like to be, what does it sound like? He said, first fruits. What does that sound like? And we understand things are a being and they are a frequency. They are all of these things. You understand what I'm saying? And so this is what the Father is bringing us into. What it means. This is a couple of things that I thought about. And we're going to talk about the first fruits life tonight. What some of this means to me, and this is some of the things that the Father was talking to me about right before I jumped on. He said, what it means to be first fruit. The if I perish, let me perish paradigm is a first fruits concept. Okay. Y'all are familiar with the if I perish, let me perish. Esther said it, right? It was around the theme of there was something that she was assigned to do. There was a reason why she was put in a specific place. And when we think about specific placement, I want you to continue to think about the purpose of your birth. Why were you put in the earth? There's a specific purpose for your person. So she was put specifically in the earth. And after all of the tragedy, losing her parents, losing her family, being whisked off in this diaspora, you understand what I'm saying? Being whisked off, all right, into this other land, right? And her cousin who took her in as his daughter. She was clearly a much older cousin. I know I have cousins that are much older than me, and I call them aunts or uncles, right? Because they're much older than me. But clearly, Mordecai was much older than her, and he took her in as his daughter. And he was her wisdom. He was her instructor. He was a father to her. So much so that he began to identify, and I'm going to the if I perish piece, he began to identify the things that were happening in the kingdom. And this takes me to that Issachar moment. Takes me to the sons of Issachar moment. And maybe I'll get back to that. I'm a jot. Somebody write Issachar in the room so I remember. Issachar. I need to remember that because that takes me to that knowing what to do. Okay. Mordecai saw what was going on in the kingdom, and we know what took place. The king's wife, the king's wife, she did something different. He called for her. She didn't want to come, right? She didn't want to come. She didn't want to show up. And he said, you know what? We're going to do something different. And really, he kind of was going to give it a pass. Thank you, Elder Vicky. He was going to give it a pass. But the people that were on his council, his aides, okay, the people that he had conversations with and dialogue with, okay. I want to use this particular word, and it's eluding me right now. I would call them council and all of that, but when you have a board, advisory, there we go. His advisory board said, listen, sir, this can't happen like this. And the reason it can't happen like this is because if you give Vashti a pass, if you give her a pass, then all of these women in the kingdom gonna cut a food. If you give Vashti a pass, then none of these men are going to be able to lead their women properly. Because if she don't show up for you, then what makes you think any woman in their household is going to show up for their husband? Is going to follow any kind of instruction or submit to any kind of authority? So he said, "You're right. You're right. Okay, so this is what we're going to do." So he sent out a decree into the kingdom, and they wanted to gather all of the virgin women, all of the virgins. And it's sort of like what you would call, what we have now is more like a beauty contest, right? And it kind of, it was along that line. But the difference about that particular thing in a beauty contest, as we know it to be, is that they went through ritual, they went through all kind of purity processes. They were virgins, but they were given all types of specific utensils. They were given all kinds of specific products and different things to beautify themselves and to cause their bodies to detox so that they would be prepared and be presentable. Listen, your assignment begins. Listen, I'm trying to tell you, before you were born, the assignment was what it was. You just didn't know what it was yet. You know what I'm saying? You just didn't have the person to execute the assignment, okay? It's a real thing. And so here they are, they're getting all of these ingredients and all of these things to become what they need to become, so that when they pass by the king and he sees them, he's going to select of them the one that he sees as the most valuable. And that's just how it works, because he's replacing Vashti. So I want to get back to this if I perish, let me perish piece, because in all of this activity of them preparing themselves to be before the king, Esther was selected. Now, I'm going to tell you something about Esther too. This is another one of those things about sonship. She had someone that attended to her, as they all did. But she listened. All of the other women, they brought all kinds of things that they wanted to bring, and they had that kind of freedom. But Esther listened to her attendant. She only took the things that her attendant said to take with her. She only did the things that he told her to do. She followed the instructions of her cousin, who was her father figure, and she was selected. Now here she is, she's the queen. But there are still rules in the kingdom, even though she's the queen. She can't just walk in there anytime she feels like it and do whatever she wants to do without, getting his approval to enter in or to do that. But in this situation, okay, she could have very well been a part of his harem, but she was Torah rich, absolutely, because of her uncle Mordecai or her cousin Mordecai, and she followed instructions. So here it is. She's chosen, and she could have just left it at that. I'm going to talk about this first fruit mentality, okay? And this paradigm of sonship. She could have just left it at that. You know what? I'm the king. I'm the queen. I'm the king's first pick, etc., and I'm comfortable and I'm good. Now I'm gonna tell you something. One of the reasons why we've been processed so aggressively is because the Father wanted to make sure, and you cannot say, well, that ain't in me. Oh no, you don't know all that's in you based on your natural bloodline. So the Father has to make sure that things are exposed and things are seen so that we can address these things as they're being exposed and get in the right position, get aligned with the word that is over our life. Somebody put in the room alignment, and there are protocols, Apostle. Alignment is necessary. Okay, so here Esther is, she's the queen. She could have just left it at that, but it came down to the annihilation of her people. And you see that that was a continual attempt by King Things. The annihilation of the people of Yah was a continual attempt. Okay, why? Because the adversary, whom we've been talking about all week, who uses these different approaches, okay, he is attempting to snuff out mankind. And I could say that without biting my tongue, without holding anything back, because if he was not attempting to snuff out mankind, then why does he want to make everybody different in their DNA? Why does he want everybody to be operating as an operating system according to diabolic works? Why then do they want to change the very foundation of mankind? Because they understand that mankind was made in the image and likeness of Yah. That's another conversation that I'm going to talk to you about tonight. He wants to make sure you won't be able to return, okay? He wants to fix it so you'll never be able to return back to the original state. And so brother was talking about this the other night. I'm going to check on him in a minute, because this thing about finding the God particle and their desire to find, what creates life, and it being that light, that bright light, when that sperm meets the egg, and this flash of light, we've talked about it many years, this flash of light that takes place, and how we identify with who we are, because we are water, we are earth, we are fire. That's that light that's in us. That's that electricity that's in us. Okay. And we are wind. And when we begin to identify who we are, then we move differently. So let's look at this. Esther could have just rested right there, but it came down to the annihilation of her people. And her uncle said, I understand you're the queen now. And that feels good after all the things you have lost, after everything that has happened to you, after all of the trauma and all of the loss. You're the queen and you're comfortable now. He said, but I'm going to tell you something. It is now time, because remember, before this time, he told her, don't say anything about your nationality. Don't say anything about who you are right now. This is not important. You got to know when to speak and when not to speak. Don't say anything about who you are. But in this moment, when they found out that there was an edict that Haman had put out against the people of Yah to annihilate them, and he put it in the different provinces, so that on that day, it was almost like a, what do you call this thing? The purge. Are you hearing what I'm saying? He put out a sort of purge memo to all of the different cities around them. Anywhere where those people, the people of Yah, were residing, he said, on this day, kill them all. Do you hear what I'm saying? And when Mordecai found this out, he was mortified. Do you hear me? There was a mortifying in his members. Do you hear me? And he said, listen, he said, girl, he said, I know I told you don't tell nobody. He said, but now is the time. The king loves you. He don't care what nationality you are. You are his pick. You hear what I'm saying? And you're going to need to go in here and undo all of this that Haman has done. You're going to need to overturn this thing. And the Father gave her wisdom. He gave her insight. You hear what I'm saying? He gave her revelation. He showed her the way to do it. And she did it, because the king's edict was not revocable. It was irrevocable. But look at how beautiful this is. The term that was used when she finally got, okay, I'm the queen, but I can't get comfortable, because something needs to happen. And the only person in position to make it happen is me. You got to understand that about your bloodline. We're going to talk about it in a minute, because listen, you have to be okay with your difference. I'm going to go on and say this. You got to be okay with your difference, because you got to understand, I don't care what's going on in the bloodline. You got to be the one to change the blood. Okay. Listen, she got this thing in her spirit. And when she finally got a hold of the revelation of what needed to take place in order for the people to be saved, she made this statement. She said, if I perish, let me perish. That's a benchmark. That's a benchmark of first fruits lifestyle. Come on. You better know who you are in the kingdom. That is a benchmark. Listen, Esther did it. Daniel did it. The three Hebrew boys did it. Paul did it. The Mashiach did it. Listen, if it's time, it's time. If I die, I die. And this has to be the mentality, even with the sons in this hour, pertaining to your natural life, pertaining to everything that has to do with your life, down to your mentality, down to what you got to say in a space where down to what you got to do, down to how you do what you do concerning your very life. It has to be at that wire. Listen, if I die doing it Yah's way, I'm going to die doing it his way. But I know that if it's not his desire for me to perish, then he's going to prepare a way for me, a way of escape. This is just what he does. If it's his desire for me to go, I'm going to go being obedient. I'm not going to go being disobedient. Do you hear what I'm saying? I'm not going to leave here being hard-headed, trying to do it my way and trying to get my way instead of doing it his way. The sons that become a first fruit have the mentality of, listen, this is going to look stupid. This is going to look strange. I might get talked about, but guess what? If that's what it comes down to, in order for me to accomplish what the king has given me to accomplish, so be it. If I perish, I perish. You hear what I'm saying? The sons that become first fruit also stood for righteousness. They stood for what was right. They stood for what was just because their king was just. Yah is a just king, and justice looks like more than what you think justice looks like. Okay? Because sometimes people are upset because people are seemingly getting away, but that's just a form of justice. The Father is just. He's going to give people an opportunity to turn. When he loved you, when somebody came before you, it may be a different grace on your life that's not on everybody else's life. And it seemed like people getting away. They just get, no. It's a specific grace that's on their life. Now, if they make that grace, if they trample on that grace, if they treat that grace like trash, that grace is going to come to an end. That's it. Esther and Joseph, similarities. They were absolutely hinged intercessors. I promise you. But they had the mentality, listen, whatever happens now is just going to happen because I can't turn back now. This is who I am. This is what I'm called to. And whatever the Father want to do, he's just going to do it. Okay? But look at the second idea or the second paradigm of this first fruits lifestyle. The sons that became a first fruit also stood for righteousness. Do you remember when Phinehas, who is the grandson of Aaron, was in the camp, and this was during that whole what was it called? I've taught this so many times and I can't think of what it was particularly, but I'll pull it up. This is when what is his name? I gotta pull it up. Hold on. My brain is on freeze for a moment. Hold on. I'm gonna pull it up. Balaam. That's who I'm trying to think of. I'm still going to pull it up. When Balaam was in league with the king, right? The king was family. Okay, really, he was of the family lineage. But this king wanted to do away with. I tell you, this is a reoccurring theme. And you will find that this is a reoccurring theme even in your life, that you are connecting with people. And it seems like there's this enemy that's seeming to try to do away with you, trying to do away with your character, trying to do away with, who you are as a person, trying to do away with your influence, trying to do away with who you are. Seriously, they want to contaminate that, right? But here they are, they're dealing with the repercussions of Balaam wanting this money so bad that he is giving the king away to cause Israel to fall. Okay? And so they're dealing with these women. As they are dealing with the women, they begin to worship the gods. They are lured in to worshiping the women's gods. And it's through a sexual intercourse. It's through some acts that they were doing. Okay. And these acts, Lord of the Clef is how this works. I know what it means, but I couldn't think of the actual term, Baal, whatever, but it's going to come up because I'm going to pull the scripture up. But here they are. They're going through these things. And these men are actually in front of the temple, in front of the tabernacle. Okay? They're in the meeting place, in the congregation, right in the open, at the meeting of the tent door, doing these acts. You understand? Doing these acts, these forbidden acts that are worship to the gods of these people. And Phinehas, the grandson of Aaron, picks up his spear, and he goes where they are. Cosby was a princess, a daughter of a king. Listen, he picks up that spear and he drives it through the middle of both of them. It goes straight through their bellies. Do you hear me? And he became a first fruit to the priesthood, because if you remember correctly, the father was doing it this way. He said, whoever is the firstborn in the household, that is mine. So the firstborn were, particularly thought of as special to him. But even in some situations that happened in the wilderness, it wasn't firstborns that were coming to the defense and the justice of Yah. It was this boy Phinehas, Phineas, who drove this stake through the belly of those two in their very act. And this person was not just an average person. This was a leader. This was a leader who was functioning like this, right in the front of the tent of meeting, right in front of the door of the tent of meeting. He drove that stake through them. And now the priesthood, instead of the firstborn, became those that were special to Yah. And so Phineas became a first fruit for all of them. And the Mashiach did the same thing. He became a first fruit for every son that would enter into relationship with Yah. He became a first fruit. So what he does, we do. What he says, we say. You understand what I'm saying? I'm going to pull it up because I want to read it to you. It's in Numbers 25. Numbers 25. And I think I'm going to go, we could just start at the top. Because, Baal Peor. Thank you. I knew I needed to I couldn't think of Peor for anything, okay? Baal Peor, it's Lord of the Cleft. All right? It says here in verse 1, and Israel abode in Shittim, and the people began to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab. Do you know the Moabites were related? They came into relation because of Moshe's, because of who he married. Okay? They came into relationship because of the marriage. And so here we go. It says here, and they called the people unto the sacrifices of their gods. It was the women. And the people did eat and bowed down to their gods. So not only did they do this act of sexual act, but they also ate the food that was sacrificed to idols. A lot of times food is around those transactions. And I saw some earlier. I didn't listen to it, but I saw some earlier. Several gifts that you should take from people you don't know. Food is one of them. And this is why it's really important. I'm going to say this to you guys because this is really important, that you don't become fast food junkies. Do you hear what I'm saying? That you don't become fast food junkies, because you don't know these people. These corporations are seriously in an attempt to annihilate mankind. And you got to understand that this is coming from every angle now. It's not like it was when I was a child. Fast food restaurants are not like it was when I was a child. Candy is not like it was when I was a child. Snack foods were not like it was when I was a child. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's right. Moab is one of lots of Moabites. Yeah. And so here we are in this time, and we got to be mindful and intentional about how we're moving. We must be mindful and intentional about how we're moving, because it's certain gifts and certain things you shouldn't take from people if you don't know them. See, eating someone's food is a very intimate thing. And I know we got restaurants, we got all these things, and we can sit and go to places. And I'm not saying don't ever go to a restaurant. I'm just saying be mindful, because the time that we're in is very crucial. The time that we're in is very serious. This adversary is on an all-out assault to annihilate mankind, to change the DNA, to change mankind into something else, because he understands what mankind doesn't understand, that we've been made a little lower than Elohim. And that means only in the throne is he greater than us, but he's put us in the earth to do the work that's on his heart, to do the thing that he has already imagined, to do the thing that he's already dreamed. And if we ever come into alignment with his vision, with his dream, with the assignment that was already assigned to us before we were even formed, then it's going to be a powerful situation. And the Mashiach said it like this: I came to destroy the works of the enemy. You have to understand that that is your purpose, to destroy the works of the enemy. I'm going to say this to you. We're going to keep reading. Pharaoh is afraid. You hear what I'm saying? The king thing, the thing that has you in captivity, the thing that wants to keep you in captivity, that wants you to keep building for it, never being free, to serve your God, right? Is afraid. We'll come back to that. Let me keep reading. Y'all put it in the chat room. Pharaoh is afraid. We use Pharaoh proverbially. Proverbially, because the king thing is the thing that wants to keep you captured, right? It says here, they bowed, the people did eat and bowed down to their gods. And Israel joined himself unto Baal Peor. Uh-oh. We're talking about a covenant now. We're not talking about just eating the stuff now and just bowing down. Now we're talking about you coming into covenant. And we know that one of the greatest covenants that there is in the earth is the covenant that happens between a man and a woman. That is a covenant that makes two people one person. Israel joined himself unto Baal Peor, and the anger of Yah was kindled against Israel. And Yah said unto Moshe, take all the heads of the people and hang them up before me against the sun, that the fierce anger of the Lord may be turned away from Israel. Okay, so I'm going back to this piece here, that we see that term Lord there, right? So sometimes it's a challenge for me when I'm reading it, because there are times when I do understand that there's a tribute that is being attributed to Yah, but then there we understand that Yah has, a workforce. Okay, says here, hang their heads up though, not just any person, but the heads of the people, because these are the people that were initiating these acts. So if the people that are the heads of the people are initiating these unlawful acts, what for the people? What do they have to look to? What do they have to follow? But what they see. Absolutely, marriage. Look at this. It says here that, behold, one of the children of Israel came and brought unto his brethren a Midianitish woman in the sight of Moshe. This is what he's going to do. This is why this is getting ready to go down. Check it out. And in the sight of all the congregation of the children of Israel, who were weeping before the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. Now they're already weeping because things are happening, and these heads of the people are being slain, and their heads are being cut off to be hung up. And while all of this is going on, let me tell you something about the brazenness of darkness. And when your mind is gone, his mind got to be gone, because their heads are getting cut off, and he's trying to get head. What are we doing? What's going on? He's trying to get him some anyway. Moses said unto the judges, slay ye every one his men that were joined unto Baal Peor. And behold, one of the children of Israel came and brought unto his brethren a Midianitish woman in the sight of Moshe, and in the sight of all the congregation of the children of Israel, who were weeping before the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And when Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, saw it, he rose up from among the congregation and took a javelin in his hand, and he went after the man of Israel into the tent and thrust both of them through, the man of Israel and the woman through her belly. So the plague was stayed from the children of Israel. And Yah spoke unto Moshe, saying, Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, had turned my wrath away from the children of Israel, while he was zealous for my sake among them, that I consumed not the children of Israel in my jealousy. It's something that I was talking to you about before. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but you got to understand that it doesn't matter what's happened in the bloodline. You've got to be the one that will stand up and change the trajectory of everything. Because if Phinehas hadn't gotten up and thrust them through with that javelin, whatever was going on that was causing them to drop dead would have still been happening till it got to the last man. Because what happens when this kind of It's a pervasiveness about sin. What happens when sin begins to operate? It begins to prevail. It begins to spread out. It's like a vining plant. You ever had a vining plant? An ivy plant, not the poison ivy, but an ivy plant. Once you plant that thing, it just reaches everywhere. It goes everywhere. You got to keep cutting it back. You got to keep cutting it back. You got to have to put it up on a trellis or something if you don't want it all out in your grass. But if you plant it and you don't control it, that thing is going to be everywhere. That's what that is. And if he had not stepped in with that javelin and thrust them through, then that sin, that pervasive sin, would have demolished the whole nation. Are you listening to what I'm saying? But Pharaoh is afraid. The king thing is afraid. We know this because even as it pertained to the king, Balak, he's that king thing, right? He wants them annihilated. But why is this the conversation? Why is annihilation the conversation? You know why? Because they understand the allies that they have attained along the way. Because some nations saw what Yah did. Some nations have a record of what he did. Some nations remember what took place, and they have a natural fear of who Yah is and who his people are. So the king says, listen, this is in Egypt at this time. You know, Joseph is gone, all the fellas are gone, and this king says, we can't let this just continue. We cannot allow, because they got relationships outside of here. And if we allow them to continue to relate with the people outside of here, we're going to fool around and be annihilated. We're going to fool around and lose the throne. We're going to fool around and not have a kingdom because there's too many of them. So this is what we're going to do. Hard taskmaster. We're going to do some real tough stuff to them. We're going to put them under such bondage, such mental oppression. Listen, they are not going to be able to remember who they are. And I promise you, if you've ever been through any specific level of trauma, you know for a fact that there are some things about your life that you forgot. I remember being in a relationship. I forgot I could dance. Holy Spirit literally woke me up one morning. I wasn't awake yet. He got me out of my bed one morning, and I was literally dancing to what was playing on the television. And I woke up in the dance and realized, wait a minute, I can actually dance. I forgot I dance. You know what I'm saying? So there's a level of oppression. There's a level of captivity that will just silence you and just make you, just that one that's just, listen, what's next, boss? Whatever you say, boss. Okay. But this is the idea for the identity of the sons that Pharaoh, that the king thing has about us. Any king thing has this idea about us, that it wants to make us subjected to the authority that's a false authority, so that whatever they are building, they can continue in building their structure. You hear what I'm saying? So Pharaoh is afraid. Y'all put that in the chat. I want you to know that Pharaoh is afraid. The king thing is afraid. Hand-to-hand combat is a fair fight. Yeah, I'm going to prove to you that the adversary is afraid. Because most people don't think of it from this perspective. You're just thinking, oh, he's just doing whatever he want to do, whatever way he want to do it, and, we just subject to it. No. He's trying all of the things that he feels like has worked in times before now. That he's trying all of the things, all of the stops. This is why I don't tell, if I go to a doctor, even to take a physical, I've had to go to take a physical, whether for insurance or whether for working a job. And I haven't done that in a minute, but I remember going to take the physical. And when I took the physical, they started asking questions like, what else is going on in the bloodline? What else is going on in the family? I don't answer those questions because that absolutely has nothing to do with me. Now, somebody will say, well, you got to be wise. No. Let me tell you what wisdom is. Wisdom is realizing the bloodline that I come from. That is not my final bloodline. That is not the end all and be all of my bloodline. My bloodline shifted when I came into the acceptance of the finished work of the Mashiach. And now I have become a new creation, a new creature. That's not just some spiritual transformation. That's a reality for me. Okay? And so while there may be things that are happening in the bloodline, I remember Having I remember being anemic back in the day. You know, I remember that, but I'm not now, and I haven't been for a very long time. But there's still people in the bloodline right now currently that have issues in the blood on all kinds of levels. It's a decision. I'm not, oh, I'm basing it on, okay, yeah, well, that person had a stroke and this person had this and that person had that. You're going to be chasing rabbits the rest of your life. You understand what I'm saying? You got to understand what was paid for on your behalf during this time. Something was paid for. There was a sacrifice that was made. And if you have a respect for that sacrifice and you have accepted the purpose of that sacrifice, and one of those purposes was he was wounded for what? Our transgression, bruised for our iniquity. Chastisement of our peace was upon him. And by his stripes, with his stripes, in one place it says ye were healed, another place it says you are healed. But guess what? If you never come into the identity of that, then you're going to be chasing these things for the rest of your life. You got to get to the point where you say, you know what? I'm making a decision for righteousness. I'm standing for something. I'm going to stand on the report that the Father gave me. If I perish, let me perish. Listen, it is what it is. I'm not going to continue to chase these rabbits. Rabbits are hard to catch in a garden. I'm not going to continue. You have to set up some traps and catch these rabbits and be done with it. Be done with it. That's just what it is. Listen here. Pharaoh is afraid. I think hand-to-hand combat is fair. If anybody's going to go toe-to-toe, they have measured up their opponent. And when you fight in an arena of fighting, they do weight classes, right? So if you're in this weight class, that's it. My faith is not your faith. Listen, I'm not going to make it of none effect. It ain't going to work for somebody that ain't going to work it. You understand? And that's just how that works. If you don't work faith, it won't work for you. But if you work faith, it'll absolutely work, because faith is substance. And without faith, you have no substance. You have nothing to stand on. Okay? Those are weight classes. These weight classes determine who you're going to come up against, who you're going to fight. So I say that the king thing is afraid, and this includes the diabolic watchers. This includes all of diabolic nature. Afraid. Why? Because you coming into your true identity means that that's going to spread to someone else. Even if it's not before you, it's after you. You understand what I'm saying? Hand-to-hand combat is fair. But this adversary ain't playing like that. This is not hand-to-hand. As a matter of fact, all of the conspiring against the humankind, which is in essence the God kind, is clear evidence of the sheer terror of every adversary that you have right now. Because if this adversary wasn't afraid, then he would fight fair. This is not a fair fight. Not a fair fight. This goes back to that Pharaoh that was right after Joseph, right after those generations of him and his brothers leaving here. Listen, the new Pharaoh in town understood alliances. You got allies, both celestial and terrestrial. You say then, well, why didn't they go to their allies for food then? Because their allies were just as well in need of provision as they were. The land was famished. It was in famine. And whom Yah set up to institute provision was one of his own. If you remember all the way back to Abraham and to Isaac, you can get a glimpse of the relationships with other nations. Because you say, well, how do you know they had allies? They definitely did. Where did Abraham, who did he talk to bury his wife and to find a burial place for his family, for his lineage? Where did he bury them? Didn't he buy a cave, the cave of Machpelah? Didn't he buy that from somebody? He bought the cave. I'm going to see if y'all know what it was. The cave of Machpelah was bought from whom? Y'all know where I'm at? The cave of Machpelah. I'm looking. Hold on. Let me see what y'all talking about. The cave of Machpelah. Didn't he buy that from somebody? And these are the people that were around him during this time that Yah had taken him into the promised place. That's it. We cannot succumb. The cave of Machpelah. Mm-hmm. That's where Sarah was buried. That's where a lot of the forefathers were buried. I'm trying to see if you guys remember who were the people? Who were the people? Hmm. Let's go to Genesis chapter 23. Let's go there real quick. I don't see any answers. Nope, not the Canaanites. Go to Genesis 23. That's a good guess, though. Genesis chapter 23. I'm going to go on this phone right here. So I don't want to have to keep clicking back and forth. You're going to remember it as soon as you see it, Elder. As soon as you see it, you're going to be, oh, yeah, oh, yeah, oh, yeah. You're going to remember it. Genesis 23. Guys, there, if you beat me to it and tell me who the people were that he bought it from. It's Q&A too, so I'm not going to talk the whole time. Well, I'm going to talk the whole time, but I'm saying I'm going to open it up for questions. And we talked about a great many things this so far. Ain't that a trip? It said Abraham Lincoln, sis. That's too funny. I know what you meant, though. I know that's a typo. That is funny. Hebron was the city, right? Genesis 23. I'm there. Sarah lived, I'm going to do 23. I'll start at 1. The Hittites. I know it was a typo. It was funny, though. Okay, Sarah lived 127 years. These were the years of the life of Sarah, and Sarah died at Kiriath Arba, which is also Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Abraham went in to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. Okay, and Abraham rose up before his dead and said to the Hittites. So you was close. So I can tell, we know you read it because you brought up the place, the land that they were in. But it was the Hittites. And he said, I am a sojourner and foreigner among you. Give me property among you for a burying place that I may bury my dead out of my sight. The Hittites answered Abraham, hear us, my Lord. You are a prince of God among us. That's an ally. That's ally. That's ally stuff, right? You're a prince of God among us. Where am I here? Bury your dead in the choicest of our tombs. None of us will withhold from you his tomb to hinder you from burying your dead. Allies. It said pick a tomb, pick a place, wherever you want to do it at. Go ahead, knock it out. Abraham rose and bowed to the Hittites, the people of the land, and he said to them, this is just a humility thing. This ain't he bowing to them like he worshiped them. No, he humbled himself, even though he was about to pay money. You would have thought that would have worked the other way because you said I could bury my people wherever you say I could bury and I got to pay nothing. I'm humbling myself to you and thanking you for that. No, he humbled himself, and look at what he did. He said to them, if you are willing that I should bury my dead out of my sight, hear me and entreat me for Ephron, the son of Zohar, that he may give me the cave of Machpelah, which he owns. It is at the end of his field. For the full price, let him give it to me in your presence as property for a burying place. Now Ephron was sitting among the Hittites, and Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham in the hearing of the Hittites of all who went in at the gate of his city. We go with those gates. And I give you the cave that is in it. Said, no, my Lord, hear me. Sorry. I give you the field and I give you the cave that is in it. In the sight of the sons of my people, I give it to you. Bury your dead. He said, not only am I going to give you what you ask him for, I'm going to give you the field that's connected to the cave. Then Abraham bowed down before the people of the land, and he said to Ephron in the hearing of the people of the land, but if you will hear me, I give the price of the field, accept it from me, that I may bury my dead there. Ephron answered Abraham, my Lord, listen to me, a piece of land worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that between you and me? Bury your dead. Abraham listened to Ephron, and Abraham weighed out for Ephron. So he heard him, and while he listening, while he talking, he's still weighing out the amount. That's the price of the land, because he's got allies. This is what the king thing is concerned about. That along the way, you've got allies, both earthly and heavenly. You've got allies. But if you're not aware of the allies, then you'll just pay attention to the enemies. Didn't that happen with Elijah's servant? He said, boss, it's been good knowing you, but ain't looking up on that mountain. He's saying, it's been good knowing you, but we about to be out of here because it's a whole lot of stuff going on top of that mountain. He said, no, your eyes ain't open. You can't see. Father opened his eyes. When he opened his eyes, he saw chariots. He saw more than was with them. And these chariots of fire were surrounding Elijah, were surrounding the prophet on the mountain, but the prophet sitting in a chair. But he's seeing outside the window that he is surrounded by these chariots of fire, by this army that outnumbers the army that was against him. Well, I guess we're going to make it, boss. You hear what I'm saying? That new Pharaoh knew they had alliances. But how do we identify with this first fruit? You know, one of the things I was thinking about was the fact that when the children of Israel got to Egypt, nothing in them, even though they were provided for and they got to a place where they, were kind of stable, all of that, they were accepting, this space and giving choice space to do what they had to do and to continue to be who they were. And unlike, who was that? Something was on the tip of my tongue. I'm going to keep talking about it. Nothing in them said we need to go back to where we came from. Something is still, that's what I was going to say. You remember the sons, who am I thinking about? What is her name? It's not Ruth. Yeah, it is Ruth. Naomi's husband and sons. Remember they left and they went to Moab, right? Moab comes up a lot, right? But she heard that something had shifted at home. And she packed up her stuff after she lost her husband and both her sons. She said, I'm going back home. I heard it's bread there. Unlike Naomi, the children of Israel that went to Egypt never had a second thought about going back to the promised place. And that was what was promised. So they wound up in a space, and the father already knew they were going to stay. He told Abraham they were going to stay. And what was going to happen, how long it was going to be before they were released from that place, before they were delivered from that place. Okay? So, this is where we are. Understanding what this first fruit is, it's about two things. Not being afraid to deal with these enemies, because you got to be in that place where, listen, if I perish, I'm going to perish. And the second thing is that judgment. Listen, if I see something and it ain't right, I'm standing for righteousness. I'm not standing for nothing else. I'm not a part of no cliques, not even in my own family. I'm not a part of cliques. I'm not a part of cliques in these church groups and all that. I'm not a part of no clique. If it's Yah, it's Yah. If it ain't, it ain't. Do you hear what I'm saying? Absolutely. She went back. She said, I heard it was bread. I'm going back. So look, the new Pharaoh in town understands alliances, right? And so this is important. You also remember that there was an understanding about alliances when you're not only dealing with Abraham, but when you're dealing with Yitzchak, because you remember the whales. You remember the whales and how they contended with him. These same people contended with him over the whales. And so much so, they were so intimidated by what was going on in the life of Yitzchak that they said, you got to get out of here. You're too strong for us. I need you to close that door. So, you're too strong for us. You got to leave us. You got to get out of here. They put him out, and then they went and found him because they recognized, listen, you blessed. Not only are you blessed, but we want to make league with you because we don't want you to ever get in your mind that you want to destroy us, because we know you could do it. So we want to make league with you. We want to make covenant with you. We didn't touch you, and you don't touch us. Okay? He said, why y'all coming? Y'all put me out, right? What you want? I said, no, we want to make covenant. So understand, you have alliances. And Yah is going to send more alliances in this season for the sons of Yah. They are also first fruit mentality people. Okay? Here's a look. I wanted to say this to you guys yesterday, but it came up in my spirit before I got on today. And if you guys have questions, go ahead and start putting the questions out there. And if you feel like you want to come on to ask the question, I really want to open it up where you can come on and ask the question. That's simple because most of the people here are connected to me on Facebook as well. So you can also, or shoot me an email. You can also let me know that you want to come on and you want to share. I would love for you to do that. This is Q&A. And I said we were going to have some table talk, but this is Q&A, still Q&A. This is going to be clarity for about 3 people on this line. Your difference is purposeful. And I think I hit on this yesterday, but the Holy Spirit said I needed to hit on it again today. Stop trying to fit into the bloodline. Change it. Somebody say, stop trying to fit in. Stop trying to fit into your bloodline and change it. So many people are so worried about this disconnect. So many people are worried about, well, I need to do this and that because the family is doing it. And that's the way that I sit with the family. No, you got to be separate from those things. You can no longer celebrate those same things. You can no longer make the excuse that, well, I'm just gathering with the family. Can't make that excuse no more. Or I'm just doing it for my grandbabies. You can't make that excuse anymore. The Father's saying there needs to be a distinct difference between what you do and what they do. And sure, it's going to make you look different. It's going to make you stand out. Absolutely. And the purpose of that is to stand out. People in the existing bloodline still dealing with the same things that they've been dealing with. They have not changed. But you cannot be a part of that. You've got to be the one that changes it. Stop trying to fit in. You got to be the one that changes it. Let me look over here and see something here. I'm a little concerned about my brother because he would usually be on. I'm going to play the music for about 2 minutes. You guys get your questions together. Get all your questions together. And then let's go ahead. That's it. Put a difference between the holy and the profane. That's also a benchmark of sonship. Okay? So I'm going to turn on the music for just a moment. And you guys get your questions together. And let me know if you want to come on. I want you to come on. I want you to say something. Okay? I want you to be able to have something to say. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. So yeah, we had some issue with the links and that kind of thing. But if you want to come on, let me know. I'd like to hear what your experience is this week, and maybe even what some of the things that you've learned. What kind of revelation has the Father unpacked for you this week about things that He's calling you to do, or things that you've been seeking, looking for, the answers that you've been looking for. What has that looked like for you this week? I would love to hear some of that. So I'm gonna definitely make sure I've logged into my Facebook so that I can give you the link if I need to. Feel free. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. All right. Let me see if brother made it on here. I want him to teach y'all tonight about this thing. Ah, there he is. All right. You in the house, brother?
Holy shalom, holy shalom.
Holy shalom. He's sitting back like a fat cat. He couldn't get in the room, but he ain't saying nothing. He just letting me talk, getting filled up. I want to get filled up now. I'm getting my plate. How about that?
I am so full.
Don't be burping on the live either.
Okay, I'm gonna try not to.
Absolutely not. Absolutely
Oh
not.
my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yes, yes. So
Yes.
I was just waiting for the.
Oh, Lord.
I'm listening for the Q&A for everybody. I'm just enjoying everything and the comments, and it's just
Amen.
wonderful. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Y'all come on in here. All right, come on. Let's talk about these things. Who's sending me a request to come on? Because I want brother to go ahead and start talking about this feast end here, the first fruits. We talked a little bit about it, but I know that he has some more things. You know what I want you to go back over, brother, because it was such a powerful conversation yesterday. And when you brought up the conversation, one will be in the field, one will be taken, the other one left. That was so powerful. The way you broke it down was so powerful. I want you to go back over it. And I'm going to tell you what I believed in one season of my life before I believed what you taught, right? I said, well, I know that ain't what they're calling it, right? So what I do know is that the wicked will be destroyed. The wicked is always taken out of the earth. So if this is what they're saying is the case, then that means, this is what I believed years and years ago, then that means that one going to be taken and the other left, that the one that's going to be taken is the wicked one out of here, because the earth belongs to the sons. So that was a long time ago that was my belief system, but it was such a powerful breakdown of that revelation. I just want them to hear it again, because, you know, many people, I said this earlier, people, like you said, don't believe what's written, they believe what they're told. And so people automatically, that's one of the rapture scriptures.
Right, exactly.
But it has absolutely nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with what they think it has to do with. And people will argue you down. And it's because they have no understanding. They have
You're
not
right.
under the word at all. They may have degrees, they may have a whole lot of stuff, but they have not stood under this word. They have simply been told something that they bought at face value, and they're not going to stand under it. Can you go back over that for the people of Yah? That was delicious.
Yeah.
It was delicious.
Well, I want to say holy shalom to everyone. And as I was listening through YouTube and just enjoying everything Apostle was saying, and like I said, I get full. You know, you get full and get lazy. You know, and so you will sit back and relax. But I enjoyed all the statements and that was stated and everything, and I'm looking forward to hearing your questions and your thoughts and everything. But as Apostle was saying, you know, it was something for me some years ago to come to that understanding, because you know that was the catalyst of the rapture. You know, we heard that Left Behind. There were movies, Christian movies of Left Behind. And I know in the 80s and part of the end of the 70s, those movies, they would have, people would have church part movie nights with the movie Left Behind. And we saw all of that, and people were frightened. They were frightened, and folks would leave. You see a movie, you know, people went in an airplane, and somebody left, and you know, somebody, you know, in the operator room, and clothes just drop, and you know, just, you know, and husband left behind, and so I'm, you know, in my way of thinking, you know, so something just don't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. And so as I begin to mature and begin to understand some things, even as a Hebrew Christian mindset, because I was Hebrew and didn't realize the mindset what Yah was doing in my life. And so, because I always ask questions, and I saw things differently. So as I would read, and when it first dawned on me when I began to study about Yeshua being in the wilderness. When I began to study about Yeshua being in the wilderness, because I began to realize that they didn't have a New Testament.
Come on now.
They
Come
had
on.
the law and the prophets. The
Come on.
prophets did not have a New Testament. They had the law. So everything that they spoke about always went back and came forward.
Hmm.
It went back because that's what they're teaching. That's where the foundation of their teaching, that foundation of the prophetic word that they got came. It always went back because they didn't have what we call today. They did not have that. And so it was interesting because when I began to study, and he said, it is written. Oh,
Yes.
the story, Luke chapter 4, Yeshua in the wilderness. And so I've always thought that it is written. Wow, man shall not live by bread alone. That's awesome.
Yes.
Then one day it was a rematch. I began
Oh,
to understand Hebrewically. Rematch, it is written. Interpret, it's translated, it is written.
yes.
Going back to come forward. So I'm like, I said, well, it was, I was studying and it said reference going back to Deuteronomy. And I'm like, what? So I went back and I read that, and I'm like, I read it in chapter 8. I said, wait a minute.
Wait a
But
minute.
I said, wait a minute. I was thinking to myself, now it was said then, how did he understand? How did they know that then? And it went back, and I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. It didn't
All
connect. But
right.
when it connected, I said, oh,
Yeah.
they read this. It wasn't something that was brought out of nowhere. He
No.
got this because he read because they didn't have a New Testament. They had the law and the prophet. I said,
That's
oh. And so my eyes came up, and so I began to think about. Then I began to study in Leviticus and things like that about the escape goat, the first goat that was for sacrificing. Then there was an escape goat, and what they did was the priest put their hands on the goat, put it on their hands on the head, laid all the sins, and
yeah.
then led the goat into the wilderness.
Send it to Azazel.
Sitting. I said, oh, he was led. So when I was reading in Luke and say the Holy Spirit led him, I said, that sounds so familiar. Led. So
Yes,
I
sir.
began to understand it was physical. Led the goat out there. That's what I began to understand that that there's the lamb, the goat.
Hmm.
And so there was the sacrifice. What did the lamb mean? What did the goat mean? So now
Right.
led led him out there in the wilderness by the Holy Spirit. Then the Holy Spirit left him.
Yeah.
There was no Yeshua, the Messiah, didn't have the Holy Spirit with him
Hmm.
because what he had to deal with. So most people in their mind says he was led to a wilderness, a physical place, but it wasn't that. But he was led, it was in the mind,
Hmm.
led him into a wilderness. Because the first was physical, now the second part with Yeshua is spiritual.
Come on.
And so I'm like, oh, okay. Now,
Ain't
if
no
it's
temples, ain't
spiritual,
no temples in the wilderness.
come on. So
It's
now you
all
you
about the
got
mind. All about the
it.
mind.
I could be, and I begin to say, wait a minute. I've been in the church. I've been in church, sit down, my body there, but my mind someplace else. And it's weighted down, and I ain't even paying attention
Yes,
to
sir.
everything that's in my present. I'm there, but I'm not conscious of everything. So my mind is someplace. And so y'all begin to speak to me and say, hey, the wilderness is the mind. The wilderness is the mind. You could be in one place, in a place with a whole lot of people, and absent. You remember absent from the body, but present with Yah.
That's right.
We could
They
be.
think that's
We could.
death. They think that's
We.
death.
I could. They think it's death, but it's not. But I can be in a place. I could be absent. I could be present, but absent in the midst of everything.
Come on now. Come on.
And so what it began to give me understanding. So as I began to read, and I began to read about two in the field and one to be left. Then I begin to think, wait a minute. Husband and wife could be in the house, and the household one would be left. And that, wait a minute. Because it's spiritual. It's spiritual that we could be in the same household.
Yep.
In the same household, and all of a sudden, I'm here. I done got a rapture experience. My mind, I'm conscious now. Now I'm like, oh, I'm not there where you at. And here's something else. And so here's something else, Apostle, that we read in Corinthians: a husband be sanctified by the wife, or the wife could be sanctified by the husband.
That's right.
That means that two people there have two different lifestyles, but one can sanctify the other. But if they're not on the same page in agreement, we agree to disagree. If we're not on the same page, there's no reason why I should be with you.
Period.
People don't understand that. So therefore, I could be in the same household with you. How can two walk together except there is an agreement? Now I'm in the household with somebody, and all of a sudden my belief system, my faith now is shifted.
Come on now.
And yours not.
Come on.
And I've heard, well, you go to your church and I go to mine. Oh, I ain't going to church.
No.
Okay. So in other words, somebody's left behind and somebody going forward.
I'm gonna give them a verse. I'm gonna give them another verse in the New Testament, Matthew chapter 10. Let's start at verse 33. Whosoever therefore shall confess me before men, him will I confess also before my Father which is in heaven. Whosoever shall deny me before men, him will I also deny before my Father which is in heaven. Now look at verse 34. Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. This is talking. I came not to send peace, but a sword, a dividing instrument. A sword divides something. It says, I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And people wondering why things ain't working out. And a man's foes shall be they of his own household. I meant to read this verse when I was telling y'all that, stop trying to fit in. Because this is a reality. Here's what it says: he that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he that taketh not his cross. Okay, we're going to look at that. I can clarify that for you. And followeth after me is not worthy of me. Because y'all know how we feel about that, right? We all about the steak life. And it's storos. Okay? It's an instrument of most cruel and ignominious punishment, borrowed by the Greeks and the Romans from the Phoenicians. Understand that was not a cross, but you have to understand this was translated. It was a stake that the hands went above the head and the feet went below, and they were crossed over. And the nail went through, the spike went through the hands and the feet. It's an and it's right here. It's right here in Strong's Concordance, an upright stake, especially a pointed one, used as such. It's the palisade. It's written here, but you got to understand. I told you they give you symbols, right? And they give you these symbols to give you a message to bring you into some form of captivity. But people would argue me down on this point, right? Oh, it's a cross. It's a cross. He died on the cross. He died on the cross. But that was not Rome's way of crucifixion. It was not their way. But it is a symbol that was given for a purpose. And I told you always got to identify what's behind the symbol. Who's giving the symbols? Right? And I wanted to clarify that. So I'm going to keep reading because I don't want y'all to think I'm just making something up and I'm trying to be funny. I ain't trying to be funny. I just want to be right. I don't want to live a lie. You hear me? Look at the next verse. Yes. He that findeth his life shall lose it. You want to live that lie so bad. You want to live the lie of the symbols and the icons and the avatars that have been given so bad. It says, he that loseth his life for my sake shall find it. In other words, it goes right back to what I said about the first fruit and about who you are and about understanding your difference and not trying to fit in, because you got to lose your life, lose your way of doing things, lose what you desire in order to find a life that was provided for you, which is a life of abundance. This is proof, more proof of the division being the fact, more so than some kind of everybody clothes gonna drop on the ground and they're gonna be all caught up. Y'all need listen. This is not a Hollywood movie.
No.
Okay, we don't read the scripture and eat popcorn. It's a popcorn moment. Okay, it's not a popcorn moment like that. Like we just being entertained. Okay, this has real significance for your life and your lifestyle. And if you are ever able to grasp the fact that the Father loved you enough to make sure that you had something to understand who He was so that you could become, then you get it together for sure. Go ahead, brother. I just had to give him more proof.
I tell you, I'm just reading as you stop. I'm like, ooh, these other two verses are something else, especially 41. Because people talk about it.
You can keep going if you want to. You can keep reading them.
I just want to read 40 and 41. Okay. Because a lot of people, in 40 says, he who receives you receives me. In receiving me receives him who sent me. Then he says in 41, he who receives a prophet becomes because of their authority of a prophet, receive a prophet's reward.
Oh my!
And we hear that so much. About the prophet's reward. They don't say nothing else.
Nope.
But he who receive a righteous man's reward. Let me read it again. He who receive a righteous man because of the character of the righteous man receive a righteous man's reward. A big distinction.
That's major. And this
That's
goes
very
back
major.
to something that I said the other day too, though, Apostle. For what we're called to in this hour, you're either going to do the work or you're going to back the work.
Ooh-wee. And it's about His righteousness.
That's all. Justice.
That's it. And that goes into what you were saying about first fruits and all like that. It's important. Ooh-wee. My, oh my.
This is Selah moment.
My, oh my.
A lot of relationships are being dissolved, even familial relationships. And some of those things will come back around. With Joseph, it was the case. The Father had to sit him up, position him. But sometimes many people can't be positioned because they're too busy having anxiety, separation anxiety. You got to stop having the separation anxiety, because they're not going to never be free until you get free from them. Till you are free from them, they won't be free in Him, because they have to see something different about you. You know what? Don't look like she care much. Don't look like she paying much attention to all this we got going on. Absolutely not. Focused on something else. Gotta fulfill it. This is a priority. And I've gotten to the point now where I'm saying, if you don't respect what I do, don't think you're gonna benefit from it either. Because the day is gonna come. How you're being sustained is based on my relationship. It's not based on yours. You gotta understand that. A lot of people are surviving off your relationship right now. And they don't even know it. They think it's theirs. But the moment you move your hand, you know what happened in the wilderness, right? The moment you move your hand, then they're going to recognize it wasn't their relationship that was sustaining them. But if you never move your hand, they never get the spanking that they've earned to realize, you know what, it's good that I was afflicted, that I might learn. They never get to learn what they need to know in order to serve Him. It's really that simple. Go ahead, Apostle. I'm waiting on these questions.
Yeah, because because
Send me a,
because
send me the link. Go ahead, brother. They want to sit here and
oh
give you that. They don't want to talk to us.
ah, yeah, because the first fruit. I want to say something about first fruit and connect. As you were saying and sharing earlier, as I listened about first fruit, how powerful that is, and most people don't realize. And I'm throw this question out here: Are we in obedience to first fruit? Are we obedient to what understanding what first fruit is all about?
Mm-mm.
And so these some of the things I think about. Where's my obedience?
Mm,
What is first fruit all about?
mm.
What is first fruit all about? And there's something as you were saying, and so I'm like, me, Apostle. I'm concrete. I see, I'm gonna see it black and white first.
Right,
you
we'll
know,
deal with the
and
color later. Give me the black and white.
right, and so the wisdom come along and bring color to it. Bring beauty to it, and that's what Yahweh is all about. Here, Yahweh is concrete, but wisdom comes along and brings beauty to what what He says. And so it's interesting about first fruit, and talking about first fruit is a topic that is needed to be said. It bring about order, to bring about order, because understanding you got to understand Yahweh's mind when it comes down to first fruit. And it could be a whole 4 or 5 days talking about first fruit. And people have done it. And there are people that don't talk about first fruit. There are leaders that don't talk about first fruit. When they do talk about first fruit, it is not what we think it is. They don't. The half has never been told. They don't tell everything about first fruit.
That's right.
However, I just want to just share just a little bit, because I want to bring us into the understanding of Yahweh's mind when it comes down to first fruit, because there are things that are words that are connected to first fruit. It really is, like tithes and offerings and things like that. What does that really mean? What does that really look like? And so when we talk about tithes and offerings, what's the mindset when we hear these things? Because remember, they have told us, one thing about Christian church. They may not believe in all the law, but one law they believe in tithes and offerings.
Ain't that a trip? They gonna tell you that's old and that's the law. We not under the law. We under grace. But they gonna tell you you gonna need the tithe though.
Right. We want that now. But it's interesting because we done got so many mixed doctrines and signals and things like that. So, but here's something that because I've been teaching about first fruit a long time, and it is so I just try to really just give simplicity to it, because number one, when it comes down to obedience, who are we obedient to? Are we obedient to Yahweh? Are we obedient to Yah what He says, or we could? Am my obedience connected to man, what they say, or what other people do? Where is my obedience to? My loyalty is to what Yahweh said, in spite of what people say, in spite of what people do. What is as an individual, what is my responsibility in obedience? And so what Yahweh says. So just want to read something here, and to continue to provoke, or as you say, to begin to provoke the thoughts because as you was alluding to, yeah, most people only read what they've been told. Only read what they've been told. So it's interesting because I go to Yahweh's commandments, and so, and I know that there are those who are listening, who are Torah rich. I read the comments. Torah rich, and they understand the law. And here's something. Here's a law that was given dealing with tithes and offering. But let's deal with something with first fruits. I can go and talk about this in this and it's nothing like people say it is. But let's give some context to this first fruit. What's important? And I'm gonna try to do it in a very few moments because I'm full and I'm just ready to lean back and relax.
Don't be putting your feet up burping and pooping. I need you.
Listen. And so one of the headings says in one of the laws in the positives it said all holy offerings must be given to the priest at the house of Yahweh. Numbers chapter 18, verse 8 through 14. And the first verse is very important. And it says in verse 8, then Yahweh said to Aaron, I myself have put you in charge of the offerings. Plural, not tithe, offerings.
Boom.
To me. All holy offerings the children of Israel give to me, I give you and to your sons as an portion of a regular share. That verse alone says a lot because Yah says, you give to me. If we miss, most people, we give to Yahweh. Oh, I'm gonna give. Most people miss it. Yahweh said, give to me so that I can give to you. So how does that look? So we see tithes, whether Hebrews or Christian, we see offering going to people. We see it going in the bucket, pan and box. We see it all going there. We see people collect. And so the congregation is untutored about this because they're told you don't have to do the Old Testament, the law, but they want the tithes because now it's a mixture. So Yahweh said, give to me so I can give to you the portion. I'm gonna give this to you. Okay? Now watch, I'm gonna share something with you because it's important to some of the things that you were saying earlier on. Now, verse 9. You are to have the part of the most holy offering kept back and reserved from the fire. For all the gifts they bring to me as most holy offering, and every grain offering, and every sin offering, and from every trespass offering, which they give to me, that part belongs to you and your sons. Wait, he said, all this belongs to me. I'm gonna give to you. And so you alluded here earlier that listen, all the Levites, the tribe, y'all come to this is what I'm gonna do. I'm the firstborn, the matrix of the womb. They're the one did the altars. They was like the priest that built the altars for Yahweh, the firstborn. They did this. Yeah, they messed up out there in the wilderness. They blew it. Because they built the altar. They're the ones who were able to do this. But they learned how to build altar based on the mixture that Yah had told Abraham this was going to take place in a land that your people are going to be there for 400 years.
Yes, sir.
So they learned how they began to mix and mingle with each other based upon Abraham, Hagar, and Sarah. Hagar was an Egyptian.
Oui.
So here's this mixture. So y'all gonna live together. But there's going to be a divorce that's going to take place, just like Hagar, Sarah, and all that divorce and separation. So that's going to take place with my people. And I'm going to divorce. I'm going to separate you from them. That's what happened when they came out of Egypt. They went into Egypt, 400 years separated. So now what's interesting is, so now they always say all these offerings, they belong to me, but they're going to be yours. Now, interesting. I'm gonna skip. I want to go here. Verse 21. I want to go verse 21.
Okay.
And it says, see, I gave the children of Israel Levi and the tithes, the 10th in Israel, as their inheritance in return for the work they perform and do while serving at the tent of meeting. Now he talked about the offerings, not as an offerings as an inheritance, but the tithe is an inheritance. Ooh-wee.
Yes, sir.
So what does the tithe, why is the tithe meaning inheritance? Because he lets them know. He said here is because you have first tithes, second tithe, third tithe. And so all these tithes. So you have first fruit. You have the tithes, which is you give that 10th, that one. That's because people don't get it. Because when you join, because a 10th. We connect, as you was alluding to, you connect with who? Yah, as one.
That's right.
That's a tithe.
Carlito said, yes, sir.
Marriage is a tithe. One, a 10th. So understand, he said, now what the inheritance is, because tithe is eternal. This is an inheritance from me, because you're one with me.
Yes.
But here all these offerings you still give to me, but you're going to give that to them. I'm going to give, you give it to me, and I'm going to present it to them. I'm their boss. They don't have an inheritance. Oh, you took them from a 9 to 5, and he says, now, because we understand different areas of the tithing, the first tithe, second tithe, third tithe, because you had a widow, because the priest was the recipient, the first tithe, the second tithe, the third tithe. The priest was a recipient to all of those. But then you had the widow, the orphan, the stranger. They don't have an inheritance. So y'all said, I'm going to give them an inheritance. I'm going to give them the inheritance through what? The tithe.
That storehouse. Yep.
I'm going to give them because I'm going to bless them. It comes from me. So the interesting thing about this is that we don't understand. We look at tithes as being tangible, but it's much more than just tangible. We got to understand tithe, first fruit. One, the beginning, the first of everything, because I'm one with that. I'm one with that, which makes it's important for us to understand the oneness in becoming one with who? The Creator. So we give our first fruit. We do that, but our first fruit is not with the mindset. Okay, I'm gonna do this. But I'm looking at the man or the woman first before I even look at Yahweh. That is his. See, right. I don't have to complain when I'm walking in obedience. I don't have to complain that the leader, because you look at the priest and the high priest, their clothing was the best. They has the best of everything.
Come on now.
And so we'll look at people today and say, the pastor, he got this, and the pastor got that, this and that and the other, and what have you, and we struggling and all like that, and what have you. And I've seen people in ministry, and I've seen, people left my ministry and went to someone else and say, because you poor, you don't have nothing. I like your word, but you don't got nothing. I want to go where the oil, the floor, the anointing can flow from the head on me. That's what they say. And I'm like, what? But they go on and have the misunderstanding of when we talk about first fruit. We're talking about what is first, what is number one. Because everything you talked about when it comes down to first fruit is about relationship, being one with Yah. Being one, what does that mean? What does that look like? What does that sound like? Coming in oneness with Yah. Is it tied? Is it first fruit just tangible? Is tithes being one is just tangible? No. It's spiritual and tangible. Because when we look at it, we got first fruits coming up now. And Yah would say, okay, you give first fruit, but you're not one with me. What? You're not one. We're not one with me. So you halfway there. The glass is half empty and half full, but it's still half. And you're looking at. So we look. That would say, I want to give that to them. I want to. You give to me, and I give to them. That's to the congregation. The congregation, you give to me, and I give to them, because you got to understand. First fruit deals with being one with the Creator.
That's
you
right.
don't think the world got that concept? Yes, they do. It's just we haven't gotten it yet.
Absolutely.
And so we as we understand first time, second time, third time, first fruit. Now, something that is interesting, because we have the first of the week, first fruit. We have the first of the month, first fruit.
Yes.
We have the first of the year, first fruit. We have that. And people say, oh, I do that, I give. But wait a minute, let's stop there. You have the first hour of the day. Uh-oh. What do we honor Yah the first hour of the day? That's first fruit.
Uh-oh.
Do we know when the first hour of the day is? What time is that?
Uh-oh.
Is that the rising?
No, sir.
You know, Stu, so we got the first watch. That means something. First fruit that come in. See, that always says to us that we connected with Yah first. First seek ye the kingdom of Yah and his right to come in oneness with him. And then these things will be added to you. And so people used to want to, we New Testament and all like this, and you know what, and they read the scripture. They read the scripture. You give abundantly, you reap abundantly. You give sparingly, you reap sparingly. What? Because where did they get that message from when they didn't have a New Testament? Where did they get that understanding from when they didn't have a New Testament, when they had the law and the prophet? What it meant was, here is the offerings. Here are all these offerings that they talk about. Paul talk, listen, I talked about, listen, I choose to do what I do, but I deserve what the other apostles get. You take care of them. Come on now. So we got to get a better understanding that this is about Yah. This is about Yah. And so now that the Levitical priesthood is dissolved, we're under the royal priesthood, but the law didn't change. The law, the administration did, because we're king and priest under the royal priesthood, but the law didn't change. We still got to understand and be obedient to the law of Yahweh. And this is what they were talking about. This is what, but people will begin to, no, y'all ain't doing this. You're getting richer and this and that. So this is what I said. And I know I'm talking fast, but I tell people, when I start, teaching and everything and teaching the law and in the Torah, I said, now, because we got to understand, because a lot of people began to walk in Hebrew, the Torah, based on obedience, bring on the blessing. There are a lot of people that I know, obedience bring on the blessing.
Yes.
They want to, I'm going to be obedient and I'm going to be blessed. That's what they was coming into. But what's interesting is that here we learn so much. We learn, and a lot of us still learn. Some of our learning is from where we come from. Some of us still there. It is. And so when we talk about the first fruit, the tithes, and all these things, first thing I would tell people, I said, listen, let me tell y'all something. When you look at me, if you see me, it's a reflection of what you've done, what you've given to Yahweh.
Ooh.
I'm gonna say that again. I'm gonna say it again. If you see me and I don't have nothing, it's because you didn't give to Yahweh.
Wow.
Are you walking in obedience? Because the thing is, walking in obedience to Yahweh, not based upon how I look, or I don't like what the pastor said, I don't like what they said today, and so listen, I got money, I need my money, so I'm gonna give. I ain't gonna give all my tithes, or I'm not gonna give offering today, or I'm just gonna give $1 and what have you. And people, we don't not give money, but let's go agriculture. You ain't giving. You're not giving tithes and offering based upon fruit and vegetables and meats and things like that. No. I got my own thing I deal with. He need to get a job. So if now he's in full-time ministry, tell him to get a job so the priest can walk in disobedience.
Ooh-wee.
We need to get this right. Because it's all about Yahweh and relationship with Yahweh based upon your obedience to him, and not based upon what you feel it should be. Because understand this, most people that got kibbles and bits and exegete everything that they want, how it's done with them, and it's a debate, how things are done. And people, just like an elephant, is in a room because nobody really don't want to talk about it. Because the bottom line is, are you walking in obedience to Yahweh? I don't care about an apostle with a Rolls Royce. Are you walking in obedience? I don't care if he have a mansion. Are you walking in obedience? Or you allow this, what you see, cause you to walk in disobedience to Yah? See, this is for real, because we're obligated to Yahweh and not to man, not what we see. And I tell people, I don't care about somebody got a mansion wearing $1,300 shoes. I don't have a problem with that.
No,
I don't.
No, sir.
My thing is, I'm accountable to Yahweh, and I'm going to be real. He said, you give to me and let me deal with how I give it. It's out of my hand. Once I do this, and trust me, we've done this teaching, we've seen ministry, people turn around because they begin to be obedient to Yahweh. And people get tithes and offerings, they want to bless, and I send them a note. First thing I receive on the behalf of Yahweh, tithes and offering. They're not mine. I receive it on behalf of Yahweh, because Yahweh said, now it's yours. And so it's important how we see these things. And I know, because, there are many scriptures that deals with, first fruit. When I get up in the morning at a certain time, the first hour of the day, my goodness, how important. I give myself as a living sacrifice, as a tithe to Yahweh. I'm in oneness with him. And because of that, Yahweh said, you come one with me. So understand this, you have an inheritance. There's an inheritance that I'm going to give you. Some people are not mature enough to handle the inheritance. We talk about $40 million, but you still a baby. You know you're supposed to get it, but you're still a baby. You're a toddler. Well, giving you a total of $40 million and say it's yours. And he tells us there's two different types of poor. The priest, the widow, the orphans, and the stranger. No inheritance. He said, this is me. Now the other poor is because of disobedience, and you're out there and you asking for alms and this and that and the other and so forth and so forth and so. He said, I have a place for each area of poor and how to deal with it. So when it comes down to this, when it comes down, are you obedient to Yahweh, or are you influenced by what you see or what you hear or what people do? Are you influenced by that? Are you loyal to Yahweh? I challenge everybody. I challenge everybody that is hearing me. Are you loyal to Yahweh? See, I want to get rid of the elephant. Because nobody don't. I want to get rid of the elephant and say it's all about Yah. Your relationship, your tie that brings one with Him, that brings on the open up the windows of Yah and pour you out blessings that you won't have room enough to receive. That's coming into one. That's a tithe. Oneness.
Obedience.
Absolutely.
Is the blessing.
Absolutely. So now. Am I? Because you remember in Malachi, they had that problem in Malachi. They did, because everybody don't finish reading the whole Malachi. They don't. And it's interesting because the latter part of this, you know, they read you Rob in the Christian church. I've done it way back, and I follow suit with everybody else and everything. But I began to read more, and I'm saying,
an under thing, understanding.
Yeah, your words have been obstinate, willful, stubborn, rebellious against me. Ooh. He said, you against me. When you don't do it, you're against me. And so you put me under a area. You making me, I can't come through with my promise because you are rebellious against me. I can't take care of who I say I want to take care of because you are coming against me. I'm giving this. I'm telling you to do this.
Wow.
Says Yahweh. But you.
Listen, Apostle. Listen, I have dealt with some people in ministry. I can remember quite a few. And I'm just going to say one of these. This woman had she had remortgaged her house for her. I don't see a problem with that. That's not a problem. You know, most people that are fleshly will see a problem with that. But the problem in this is you're doing it for somebody who is not a authentic leader.
Not in oneness.
You're doing this for somebody who is a hireling.
Mm-hmm.
Out of a hireling, something that you would expect from an authentic leader. Problem is, you don't even know what authentic leadership is. This is why you would refinance your house for a hireling and then turn around and get mad. Because when she got on my line, she was blown away. She's like, "Oh, this is amazing! Wow, you telling me first thing I got on, you already telling me who I am. You telling me all these things about." I already decided I'll never get to leadership again. I said, she's done. Come on my line, receiving revelation that's going to be life-changing for you, and put a period. I'm not even privy to none of this. You told me about this. But what does it have to do with me? This has nothing to do with me. But it's that thing we're talking about. People will sacrifice their kids and do all kind of stuff for the false leaders, but the people that we got to struggle, we got to skim, and people think they're gonna get away with that. They think Yah is cool with it because they don't feel like, you know, I don't know what they're looking for. What's the expectation for the outcome of what it looked like to disobey Him in this area? But you got to understand that it looked like all kind of things. You know what I'm saying? And to get a hold of this area and to really do what Yah said do is to love Him and to accept the persons that He is. I tell people all the time, you got to be mindful of your connections. Whoever has
Mm,
been sent to you, get there. If you wasn't sent here, get off my live. Get away from me.
mhm,
And go
mhm,
where you're
mhm,
supposed to be. And that don't mean you can't listen to other people. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that if you were sent to somebody, then how in the world would you think that Yah sent you there just to eat? Just to have them cook your food? You know what that makes them? They are servants of the Most High. They're not your servants. Hello. They're servants of the Most High.
mhm,
They
mhm,
just happen to serve you because they serve him. But people then turn the leadership, authentic leadership, into slaves.
mhm, mhm.
Do this, do that. And if you don't do that the way I want you to, and why we not doing that no more? Why we didn't?
I'm not gonna give you. I'm not gonna give you nothing.
What?
You suffer, and apostle. And so we come to this time because Yah says enough is enough. Because now those who have suffered, enslaved in silence, didn't give in, didn't give up, didn't give out. He says, now I'm going to magnify you. I'm going to give to you. Matter of fact, I'm going to take from them and I'm going to give to you now. Because I'm a whole, y'all was saying, I don't lie. I don't lie. Because there are those who gave. See, when y'all would say, give, teach my word, he said, those who have, who taught my word, balance, spirit into, and taught. You taught in the Torah, you taught the law, you've done this. You've done this over and over and over again. And they rebelled not against you, but against me. And they looked at me and put their middle finger, and I'm gonna say it like it is. When put their middle finger and say, Yahweh, no, And when people tell you got a good word, but when they go say, but however, I'm like, you're not doing this to me. How I am and how I look is a reflection of how you do Yahweh. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. That's all. And then want to find answer why things ain't going right. And you want to tell her because you're disobedient. Well, how am I disobedient? Well, I give tithes whenever I can. Oh, well, that's between you and Yah. Because everything that I teach, it put you in a position to be accountable to Yahweh. Your obedience is to Yahweh and not man. But Yah has put righteous people that you get a righteous man reward. Because prophets come a dime a dozen. But the prophet have the authority in the name of the prophet that has authority. And it can bring forth things. You don't have to be righteous to be an apostle or be prophet.
No.
But because you've got the title prophet, that comes with authority in itself, period.
It does.
But that's why they think a righteous man reward.
Ooh-wee.
Because of the character. I'm one with Yahweh. I'm in the image and likeness of who he is. My oneness with him. And Yahweh say, as long as you're one with me, I got you. You're going to get the inheritance. You've been robbed, but robbed no more. You've been slighted, but won't be slighted again. And this is where we're at. This is where and Yahweh and Yah is going to restore. It's in Revelation. He's going to restore the righteous tithes and offerings in this time, the way it's supposed to be done.
Yes.
He's restoring that. He's going to bring this back to where it's supposed to be. So those who have waited patiently, you don't have to wait no longer. Because now, Yah says, listen, it is interesting. Now, it's a couple of verses I want to read. And, because Yah says, this is something. when you give, when you give to the poor, the priest, the widow, the orphans, and the stranger. This is what he says. I'm gonna read something to you. And he says this. It's in Proverbs. Proverbs. First Proverbs chapter 19, verse 17. He who has pity on the poor lends to Yahweh.
Yes, sir.
And that which he has given, he will repay. So I'm going to give to the poor. I'm not braggadocious on what I do. Yahweh said, now I'm getting ready. What you did in secret, I'm getting ready to bring it to light. And I'm going to bless you. Everything is being judged. Oh, yeah. And then the Proverbs chapter 27, I think it is, 28, verse 27, he says, he who gives to the poor will not suffer want, but he who hides his eyes will suffer many a curse. Are you hearing that?
My.
A lot of folks don't realize they're suffering a many curse because they didn't hide their eyes to the very thing that will allow them to get the inheritance of Yah, because they're out of alignment. That was one of the things it said. You have to come in alignment. People are out of alignment. And alignment puts you in a position for the inheritance. First fruit aligns you up for the inheritance.
That's it.
That's what it does. That's a relationship with Yah. We're married to Yah. People get married and they become one. So when they become one, you become one with Yahweh. You as one, you are married, present their body as a living sacrifice, because now Yah is the covering, Yeshua is the covering, and me and her husband and wife become one. We become the body to a covering. And so therefore, he said, listen, this was going to take place. You got to understand this alignment, why it's so important, why a covering has to be lined up right with the body. A husband and wife have to be, because guess what? If the body's not aligned up, the man's prayer is going to be hindered because he's out of alignment with the body. So he who finds a wife finds a good thing, but obtains who? Favor.
Favor.
That's alignment. Come in alignment. When there's no alignment, the covering, the man hindered, the prayers are hindered. Because now you're not in alignment with the body. And so it has to be an alignment. It has to be a wonderful, perfect relationship. And we wonder why people that are walking in unrighteousness, but they can agree with one another. And when they agree with, they ain't saved, but they agree with one another, and we see them prosper.
They're in alignment with their God.
Absolutely. And you know what? And their gods bless them.
I tell people that all the time because they think every blessing comes from Yah. It doesn't. But every good and perfect
right big gift. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, much more could be said, but I'm gonna stop right there, because, yeah.
I had something was on my mind while you're talking. It'll come back. That's so powerful. It's the alignment that matters,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, when you said about Odessa and the king, that's one of my favorite stories.
Mine too.
One of my favorites. So it is about alignment from the beginning. Instruction. I'm talking about it in the discussion, in the chat. It's about alignment and everything. Because when she said, "If I perish," but here's something. Because the reason why he trusts her with everything, because when she presented herself, she didn't present herself with things. She had an opportunity. But she didn't present herself with things. All the other ladies did. But she came in an alignment with him by herself. Nothing else with her. And he enjoyed her so much. And the first time she came to him and she was dealing with the situation, he said, "What is it that you want?" She came into his chamber, into the throne room.
Yeah.
So what is that you need? Do you need this part of the kingdom? Do you need that? No, 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 no. I don't need all of that. But I need for you to hear me. Oh my goodness. That alignment is important.
It's imperative.
Because she was in alignment, it wasn't about herself. She was able in whatever she wanted, he said, it's yours. But he knew already that she wasn't going to do this because it was about him. It was not about her.
Character.
Mm-hmm.
It was about and that's what Yah's after. He's like, listen, no more of this the way that it's been. It's not going to happen like that. And I've seen he shut some things down many years ago with me, and it was just amazing. I knew that he was making a shift because he said you can't keep doing this way. You need to allow others to step up and to step into position. Hold on one second. Talk, brother.
Yeah. So it's really something, and it's not hard, and it's a matter of yes, Yah. Being in alignment with Yah, being one with Hear Israel. Yahweh our Father, Yahweh is what? One. One that brings the tithes, the first brings on the inheritance. The offerings brings on the tangible. Yahweh said brings so they can feed from the earth and things like that. And I'm going to bless you because you doing this, you blessing me to bless them. You blessing me to bless them. Once you bless me, you're no longer, you've done this, and watch me bless what happens to you. These commandments that he's given to the congregation, he's given it to the priests. He's given all these things are very important. Very important. And so he's concerned. So even in the New Testament, when Yeshua talk about, he said, when we were hungry, when I was hungry, you fed me. When I was in prison, you came to visit me. When I was sick, you came and visited me. Then they said, when did we do this? So when you've done this to the least, you've done this to me because this is my heart. This is my vision. And it's echoed from the beginning all the way up until now. All the way to now. And so he knew a lot of them, they knew the tithing. They knew the third tithe. They knew all of this, but they broke the law in so many other areas. So just like the woman that was they caught her, said they caught her in adultery and brought her to Yeshua, and then they said, now what are you going to do? She got caught in adultery, and so he got down and wrote down. Now who they brought her to was the men, alerted men who knew the law. And he wrote down, and people, try to exegete what he wrote. All he wrote down was the laws that they broke. Mm-hmm. Now you without sin, now cast. He wrote the law that they were breaking. He said, now where your absolutely, he said, now where your accusers at? These law-abiding men, they brought you to be crucified and stoned by the law, but now because they broke the law, they should be stoned.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We're not even going to mention the fact that they were operating in voyeurism, because how they know that you was doing
absolutely just perverted, nasty,
right? He's saying, listen, this is why this is the hour of the reckoning, because he's made an example. Oh, that's what we do. All right, then let the wicked be wicked still, let the righteous be righteous.
That's it.
And let's go. Let's add it
and
up.
I want you to be blessed. Mm-hmm. And so I'll do without second thought. I do, and Yah takes care of me.
Absolutely.
If people
Absolutely.
don't give, that's all right. That's between you and Yahweh. The day will come. I'm not going to be under that type of control where you think you're controlling me, the narrative of my life. You're
Yeah.
not.
Oh, wait. Listen, I had a prophet tell me many years ago. He said, God's going to have to bless you. He's going to bless your businesses. He said he's going to bless you in the area of business. And the reason why he's got to bless you the way he's going to bless you. He said, you're going to
Mm-hmm.
be very well off. He said, but you're going to have to be, because where you go to these different bodies of people, you're going to shut stuff down. You can't expect them to give you anything because you're going
Mm-hmm.
to shut it down.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to shut it down. He said it's about
Mm-hmm.
to get real. I was trying to remember that on another broadcast. He said it's about to get
Mm-hmm.
real. I
Mm-hmm.
promise you it has. Gone
Mm-hmm.
through those seasons, those ebbs and flows,
Mm-hmm.
where you
Yeah.
kind of at the
So.
whims of the. He said, not in this season. Not in
Mm-hmm.
this season.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. It's amazing. It's amazing. That's a good word, brother. That first fruits is so important. First is our worship.
Mm-hmm.
That is worship. Even when you're talking about dealing with the widows and the father, he said pure worship. I know people read that as pure religion. They put the word religion there because they have an agenda that they want to make sure that you
Mm-hmm.
are a part of religion of things. He
Mm-hmm.
said, no, pure worship,
Mm-hmm.
undefiled.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that
Mm-hmm.
term religion means. Pure worship. If you look at the
Mm-hmm.
study of that and you break that down, it's not the word religion at all.
Mm-mm.
That
Mm-mm.
word is worship.
Ah,
Pure
yes.
worship and undefiled is to care for the widows and the fathers. He said,
Mm-hmm.
that's a responsibility that we have. There's,
They're my responsibility.
they are my responsibility, but I'm going to tell you something. You're not going to do that and negate the
Oh.
responsibility of your parents.
Mm-mm.
Courting is
Mm-mm.
real, both spiritually and naturally.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard
Mm-hmm.
people say they gonna take their gift, their offering, and give it to the guy on the corner. Oh, really?
Mm-mm.
And what reward? You don't negate your responsibilities to do something else and think that that's counted
Mm-hmm.
as equal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just the fact that we live in an age where people are really um, strongly deluded. It's a strong delusion because that first fruit has everything to do with giving the best part of something. And, well, I got to do this and I got to do. Okay, you can still do all of that. It's Yah that makes provision for all that. It's not the things that you have possession of that make the provision for that, because all that can dry up in a moment. All of it can dry up in a matter of moments. You can lay on your back and never enjoy anything else that you have. Nothing else that you have could be enjoyed if you was laying on your back and couldn't enjoy it. So doesn't it make sense to just obey? It just makes sense to obey.
Obedience is better than the sacrifice.
It's better than anything that you think you sacrifice.
And sacrifice is good, but obedience is the best. It's the best.
Obedience is the best. Okay? And that's order. There's an order there. Obey and sacrifice. Okay? Because understand this, even if you got a rift with somebody, right? He said, if you know your brother got an order against you, leave your gift at the altar. This is how serious he is about obedience over sacrifice. Leave your gift at the altar. Go get that straight with them. Then come on back and give it.
Oh,
it's so many things even around giving. We're talking about character. Your character matters even more than your gift.
I just want to share this testimony right quick.
Yes, sir.
There was a stalker, and the person they stalked their way into area of ministry, into the Hebrew community, and they were giving. Person was giving good tithes and all like this, but the person was always accusing me of another woman.
Ain't that
I
something?
said, I don't know this lady. I don't know who you're talking about. And just flat out just said, I don't believe you. I said, okay. And then
Wow.
Yah told me, said, listen, she don't believe you. Yah told me to tell her, I don't accept your gifts anymore.
Ooh,
Because how can we walk together except there's an agreement? And you saying, I'm telling you as a man of Yah, I don't know who this person is. And you say, I don't believe you no matter what, but I'm going to still support you. No, you're not. I don't care how much your money is dirty. Because you're giving it to Yahweh, I'm not accepting it. I don't want to receive it because you're giving some dirty money to Yahweh to give to me. And if I accept it, then that means I'm in agreement with a lie, and I'm not.
spiritual money laundering.
And I don't care how much it is. I don't want it.
Period.
Period.
If you mad
Did
about
I
it,
need? Listen, did I need
and
it?
I
Yes,
need
I
it,
did.
and I need it.
Good, please.
But if you mad about
Absolutely.
it, don't give it
Oh
to me.
no, no. You go back to the altar and get it right.
Get that
Leave your money there at the altar and go and get this alt right. Go get it right.
go get it.
I tell people if your heart is dirty, I don't want Yahweh don't want dirty money. I don't want dirty money.
We're not doing no
Opening.
money laundering.
But anyway,
You on your own with that, okay?
come on.
You are on your own. Listen, we have had a good time. I'm gonna turn y'all loose. We at the 2 hour 15 mark, and we can go on and on and on tonight. But needed to have this conversation because first fruits is just a day away. You say, well, I thought it was 2 days away. No, well, the evening and morning is the day. So it's just a day away. So we want to make sure that our hearts are right. You know what came up the other day too? It's so funny. So I'll ask this question since nobody's asking questions. And people love to try to identify, well, why they not doing it or why this person not doing this or that. You turn your camera on, brother. Why this person not doing this or that, right? Well, if I got to do it, then this person, then somebody else got to do it. And they wonder, well, where you give to? Okay, let me ask you a question. Where did he give his time? Where did the Mashiach give his at? You know, where did Paul give his? Where did Moshe give his? Okay, it's we have to understand positioning, and I think that is one of the biggest confusions in the church right now is positioning. People don't understand position. You think, you understand what I'm saying, brother? Maybe I should let you speak to this. It's too personal for me right now. People are. It's like, well, I'm cleaning up. Everybody got cleaned up. Okay, but I don't live in that space. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, well, where do you do what you do? Okay, well, who's over me? Who do I listen to? Who is leading me? You know, and this has happened throughout his sonship. There are people that are not connected to other people like that. Who was Elijah connected to? He had a school of prophets. Who was he connected to? He was the head prophet. He was the master prophet. So he was the vessel that was being used to bring everything else into alignment. But if if I wanted to do something, it would be the consistency of what I do, which is give to, the cause of the poor and the needy. It would be me doing something for the youth, bringing them into a space because they're fatherless. These children are fatherless. They're motherless. A lot of children are motherless. Yes, they have mothers. They have parents at home, but they're not being parented. So the things that the Father gives to me to do on his behalf concerning the youth is a part of what he's called me to. Some of those things are inhibited, or have been inhibited, I should say, because people were not doing their part. But see, this is why business is so important in this season, and the marketplace is so important. Because if we set ourselves up right, I've got a nonprofit now, so I'm not waiting on you. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not waiting on you to do what you're supposed to do. I'm going to utilize the nonprofit to get access to what I need to get access to so I can do the work. Now, guess what that looks like for you, though? If you're connected to me, supposedly, right? That don't look good for you. It look good for you if you still doing what you're supposed to do and I have a nonprofit, but it don't look good for you if you're not doing what you're supposed to do and I have to use the nonprofit in order to make up the difference for what people won't do. I think it's powerful that you brought out the fact, and that is the elephant in the room, that a lot of leaders, and I've said this before, a lot of leaders have suffered because people have not been obedient. I literally have some conversations that I want to have, and maybe we'll have those in the next month or so, or after Shavuot. But it's some conversations that need to be had because it's bigger than just the money.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You understand what I'm saying? Sometimes leadership has been put in a bad position, and it ain't got nothing to do with necessarily some things that they've done to be put in that bad position. And when I say that, I'm saying maybe they've walked through some things and been connected to the wrong people, and how they have functioned before, credit-wise, anything else could have been affected by their connections. But they've turned from those things and they're moving forward in their life, and now they still have these things that are plaguing their way of doing things. It's bigger than just the money. It's a whole lot of ways that people can do what they're supposed to do for leadership. But those conversations, like you said, is the elephant in the room. They have to be discussed because it's a lot of authentic leaders that have to be put in a different position in order to do the work that they're called to do. They have to be put in a different position. And it's funny that nobody is hearing from Yah as to what that position is. Some of us know what those positions are. But we feel like, well, I got to tell people this or that and the other. And sometimes we told people and they still didn't get it. Sometimes we came parabolically and said some things and they still didn't get it. You say, well, you shouldn't just say it outright. No, some things ain't even meant to, because if you don't have a heart to understand what's being said, then you don't have the heart to do what's being said. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. It's setting things up to have access to what you need. That's a fact. Honor and respect is key in this hour. We must honor the gift. That is a fact. Because a gift that is not honored will be taken away. And not out of the earth, just taken from you. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of people miss those things. You're talking about the relationship maritally. Why would someone stay in a relationship? Yes, the one that is sanctified can sanctify the other one if they want to be sanctified. But guess what? Yeah, funding the kingdom comes in all kinds of fashion. But guess what? If the one don't want to be sanctified, what you gonna do? Live the rest of your life in the captivity of somebody that don't want Yah, but you do? That's a really touchy. Those are touchy areas because people are like, oh, you can't just up and leave, folks. No, you're not gonna just up and leave. You're gonna follow the Father's leading on this. You're gonna allow the grace of Yah and the mercy of Yah to be in operation, so that you can identify what you're dealing with. But if you realize that you want Yah and the person don't want Yah, and you didn't walk through this thing, you get ready what? Thug it out for the next 30 years? Sleeping with the enemy? Listen, I'm about to turn this loose because I'm about to go down another road. Brother, help me. I'm about to go down another road. I need to let it go. Listen.
As you say, it's another discussion for another. We got to deal with it. We really do. We got to deal with it. And people used to always ask me, when we understand the protocol and order of Yah.
Yes.
Because we don't understand. We don't understand. Simple as that. And what Yah's getting ready, what Yah's restoring now, and he's restoring tithes and offering. along with the word. That the law and the prophets, he's restoring that, bringing it back to where it's supposed to be.
Mm, 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 mm. I know one of the things I was going to say, because Apostle Joanne brought up a point. She said that she's experienced some of these things, and then they run out of money, and then they come back and they need prayer, and she prays for them, and it's all good. But there are some times when the Father said, just walk away. And that's another area that's got to be discussed, because leadership will burn themselves out being available to people that are not mutually benefiting.
Listen, I stopped praying for folks being disobedient.
Period. We can't stand in YAHS way. You know?
Mm-mm. I'm done.
I'm okay. Good. That's where you at. Okay, fine.
You want me to fix something that you want me to fix it so you continue to be disobedient? You want the blessing?
He said, "You come and stand in my house." That
No.
my name is in, and say we've been delivered to do these abominations.
Mm-hmm.
I delivered you and done all these things, and what you want to do is bring me whatever you want to bring me and say it's cool because I delivered you. Not to do this though.
No.
No, not for this purpose though. Yeah, it's better to leave them alone, not be in the position. Because I say this all the time, and I have told people that are connected to me, I am not Moshe. If he tell me move out the way, I'm getting out the way. You hear me? Because the last thing I'm gonna do is be pissed off, too pissed off to go into my promised place. Because see, in the new covenant, while the old covenant still stands, and there are things that we have to do that are related to the principles of those things. We are kings and priests now. So he's allowing us to have access to things. But that doesn't diminish your responsibility in any way, shape, or form. Any way, shape, or form. He will make you frustrated. Gotta leave him alone. Yeah, when you start getting frustrated, listen, I'm not gonna miss my promise. I'm gonna leave you alone. Because you're not getting this. You're not getting it. I'm gonna leave you alone. I'm gonna turn y'all loose. Listen, blessings to the house of the sons of Yah. I love you so much. I appreciate you being here with me. We don't count it as just it's a nothingness. This means something for you to be here with us, and I love that we are here together in this appointed time. Sound like you got the knife out, brother. You about to cut something. You about to do the circumcision on the line. This is how we do when we on the phone. The circumcision of the heart. We can talk about that another time. The circumcision.
Yes. Y'all forgive me, please.
Listen, I love y'all. The body is not a me thing. It is a we thing. When you start talking, and Carlito said, "Is that brother?"
Everybody, I love y'all forever. I do, and yes.
I love it. I love it. Listen, we will talk tomorrow. I think tomorrow we're going to also do 8 o'clock. I'm going to give you the whole day. And we'll come back at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. We'll talk about prophetically what 5784 is, what the Father is really saying about this hour of the reckoning. We hit on it in sequence, but there's some very specific things that he wants to address. And if you have questions, then let's talk about the questions. If you want to just send me the question and I'll answer it online, just send it to my inbox, to my email, and I will answer it on the live. But we'll see you guys tomorrow at 784. Listen, it's not the body is not a me thing, it's a we thing. We love you so much. See you tomorrow.
Shalom, shalom.
Yeah.